Hey, Turtle, why are you looking so down?
I've been trying to find an apartment, but I just don't know how to get one.
You've come to the right friend, Turtle. I'm gonna help you find an apartment. The first step in finding an apartment is figuring out how much you can afford. Take a look at your monthly income. Experts recommend only spending between 25 and 35% of your after tax income on rent and housing. So let's say your pay after taxes is $1,500 a month. Ideally, you shouldn't pay more than $525 a month on rent. You also need to take into account that you may be responsible for some of the utility costs on renting. So you'll need to figure in another 100 or plus to cover these costs. Keep in mind that some apartments have income requirements that will put you out of the running altogether. If you can't find a place within your budget, consider getting a roommate.
Alright, so I think I understand how I'd be able to pay for an apartment, but what else should I look for?
Well, in order to find what you're looking for, you need to create criteria for your ideal apartment. What are you looking for in an apartment? Do you want a studio or a single bedroom? Maybe you want to rent a small house. Do you need the apartment to come with appliances, including a washer and a dryer? Do you want it to be close to your school or work? Do you want it to be within walking distance of retail like groceries or coffee shops? And are you willing to live in a neighborhood known for its crime levels? Write down whatever comes to your mind. While this might not be able to find everything on your apartment list, it will definitely help in narrowing down the possibilities. Now that I've written down some of the things I would like in my apartment, how should I figure out which apartment is right for me?
Well, if location is a big thing for you, you can hop online and start searching for it there. That way you'll be able to see if the apartment you like is close to work or school, near grocery stores, or if they're in a safe part of town. Then once you've done that, you can check to see if they have the things that you're looking for, like appliances, number of bedrooms, etc. A lot of big apartment complexes have a web page where you can look at the floor plan, the amenities they offer, and the cost of rent. Smaller units might only have a phone number that you can call to figure out yourself.
Well, how can I be sure that this apartment is right for me?
Well, you should set aside a day to visit your potential rentals. You'll want to see them in person so that you can see what condition they're in and possibly rent it. Make sure you do this as efficiently as possible and visit as much of your potential rentals in one day. Saturdays are the busiest day for landlords when they're showing apartments, so try to go sometime during the week if you can. It's best to call the landlords and set up an appointment with them, but if you can't, most buildings will give you a tour anyway. You want to set aside about 45 minutes for each visit, so plan your appointments accordingly. So what should I look for when I'm on my appointment with the landlord?
Well, first of all, you should check for problems. As you walk through the apartment, check the following things. But again, don't broadcast your concerns right away. Look for signs of mold, mildew, or insects. Open and close all the doors and windows, and also check that the locks function properly, as this is very important. Flush the toilet and run the water in the sinks and showers, and pay attention to water pressure and temperature. Look for obvious damage like broken fixtures, holes in the walls, or broken tiles. Check for wear and tear in the carpet.
But if I'm only going to be there for one day, how will I know what it's like to actually live there?
Well, to get a better idea of what it's like to rent at a particular complex, I think the best thing you can do is to ask the current tenant. When you're visiting and don't have a person from their office by your side, ask any tenants you may run into about their experience living there. Is the landlord easy to work with? Are they responsive to repair requests? Do they feel safe living here? Are the neighbors quiet and friendly?
So is there any other financial advice you can give me?
Oh, most certainly. Have enough money in your checking account to cover the security deposit and first month's rent. When you sign your lease, the landlord will usually ask that you pay a security deposit as well as the first month's rent. Make sure you have enough money available to cover both the amounts. The security deposit will be stored in a savings account during the term of your use. If you terminate the lease early or leave the apartment in disrepair, the landlord will use the security deposit to cover those costs. If you leave the apartment in the same condition as you got it, you can get your security deposit back. More on that later.
So what's the difference between a lease and a rental agreement?
Leases and rental agreements are pretty much the same thing except for one thing: time. Rental agreements typically go from month to month, while leases last for a longer period of time, usually a year. Landlords are free to raise the rent at the end of each month when a rental agreement expires. Leases lock in the rate of rent for an entire year. If you know that you'll be in the apartment for a short period of time, ask for a rental agreement. If you plan on staying in your place for at least a year, get a lease.
So once a landlord offers me a contract, I should just sign it right away, right?
No! Don't sign anything until you've read through the lease line by line. You want to know exactly what you're getting into when you agree to rent from landlord. Make note of anything you find disagreeable, and ask questions about what you don't understand.
Is there any way I can buy insurance for my apartment?
Yes, of course. I strongly recommend that you get renter's insurance. Renter's insurance covers any loss to your personal property due to robbery or accidents. It also covers any damage you might cause to other tenants' property. For example, let's say your washing machine springs a leak and water seeps through the floor and ruins your neighbor's antique dresser. Renter's insurance would indeed cover that. I hope I was very informative in helping you find your dream apartment, my friend Turtle.
Yeah, this room is perfect. I love this apartment. It's got everything I want.